From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
The U.S. prepares to move on NAFTA without Canada. Take a trip to the headquarters of the world's largest ag company. In agribusiness, dairy price problems.
It's been very slow to turn that spigot off, and I think it depends on where you are in the country.
Cattle inventories are climbing, and tracking canines with GPS to help keep working dogs in tip-top shape.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Time is quickly running out for a deal to be struck between the U.S. and Canada as the administration prepares to publish its Mexico-only deal on Friday. Bloomberg reporting the U.S. planning to publish the text of its bilateral trade deal with Mexico this Friday, which will likely exclude Canada, but leave open the possibility for the country to join the agreement later. Under U.S. trade law, the text of the pact has to be published 60 days before it's signed. Now, Canada remains in negotiations with the U.S., but so far, both sides remain stuck on several key issues. Farm groups, however, they're continuing to push to see NAFTA resolved, but they do understand it's a deal that needs to be renegotiated.
For manufacturing, it's going to be a good story, as long as these deals get done, and then we have market certainty for that. Steel and aluminum become a concern until all these deals are done. But in the end, our goal here is to tell about what's going to happen with steel and aluminum, how that affects the manufacturers, then affects the prices of machines in the end, and finally affects the consumer, affects the farmer.
Slater telling AgDay more trade deals could help nix steel and aluminum tariffs that are leading to higher price tags on equipment. Also on the trade front, the president continuing to call out China at the UN. For the first time, the president leading a meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss countering nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. And seated at the center of that arc-shaped table, the president also saying China is interfering in the U.S. midterm elections, offering no details except to say that Beijing opposes its trade policy.
In my remarks yesterday to the United Nations General Assembly, I laid out my administration's commitment to building a more just and peaceful future. Regrettably, we found that China has been attempting to interfere in our upcoming 2018 election, coming up in November, against my administration. They do not want me or us to win because I am the first president ever to challenge China on trade, and we are winning on trade.
Just this week, China Daily took out a 4-page ad in the Des Moines Register touting the mutual benefits of U.S.-China trade, concern about market losses, and highlighting President Xi Jinping's relationship with Iowa. Experts say the intent is to sway support for the president in farm country. Meanwhile, China has all but stopped buying soybeans directly from the United States. State processors are planning to import record volumes from Brazil during the fourth quarter, which is usually a busy time for U.S. shippers. But fresh purchases for the new 18-19 crop year are just a fraction of the long-term average. University of Missouri ag economist Dr. Pat Westhoff says he's worried about losing demand from China and struggling to get it back.
Is it inevitable that China will at some point this year come to the U.S. to buy beans?
I think it's fully likely that they will buy some beans from us this year, but it will be nothing like the quantities they bought in past years. So we have to make it up elsewhere, and guess what? Elsewhere, there's not enough elsewhere.
Westhoff says for the U.S. to make up the demand losses from China, Brazil would need to shut off soybean exports to everyone else and all that demand come to the U.S. Westhoff says that scenario is highly unlikely. Senate Agriculture Committee Chairman Pat Roberts conceding this week a farm bill by the September 30th deadline is not likely. Overseeing the conference committee between the House and Senate, Roberts says it will be tough to see action completed on that farm bill before those November elections. He's telling Politico he doesn't want to consider extending the current farm bill because it gives people the chance to weigh in again and delay the negotiations. Now, making an agreement an even bigger challenge. Now, Roberts says if the committee could get beyond the SNAP issue, he thinks it could bring about a farm bill. One thing that's worked its way through Washington in the last couple of years is consolidation. Multiple mega mergers have happened in agriculture recently that are poised to redefine the industry. I just got back from the world's largest agribusiness headquarters in Germany, where Bayer and Monsanto are now learning to coexist.
And we'd really appreciate your feedback.
In front of a room of journalists, farmers, and influencers from across the world, a blended family is stepping forward.
It's been a little bit like Christmas when you get to open up all the toys and you see how wonderful they are. And now we're unpacking the toys. So that there's a tremendous amount of excitement in the organization.
The new Bayer Crop Sciences division, part Bayer, part Monsanto, now one agribusiness giant.
You can't really tell anymore who's from Bayer, who's from Monsanto. These are just a genuine bunch of people who are all completely clear about the direction they want to go and now trying to get things done.
The mega merger of the year, now standing as the world's and the industry's largest. A $60+ billion deal closed in late August, now figuring out what those 8,000 scientists and researchers and worldwide resources will mean for American farmers is next.
We feel much stronger now with the teams and the platforms and the technologies we have, that we can simply we have more critical mass, and we can and need to step up things more.
We have said over and over again, this deal is about innovation and how we can accelerate bringing innovation to the farm, to the grower.
Innovation as the new company begins to lean on each other's expertise.
What will be created when we mesh, this great expertise in chemistry and then this great expertise in biology, and we get these scientists together, and they are anxious to get together to work to solve problems for grower customers.
As head of R&D for the new business, Ryder is busy introducing Bayer research teams to teammates from the former Monsanto roster, hoping to facilitate and monetize the human capital.
We know you don't solve every problem with one capability. So as strong and as powerful as our breeding engine is in terms of bringing new hybrids to the market or new varieties, those varieties and those hybrids can't stand alone without the help of things like crop protection products. And so what we need to be able to further unlock for growers is how do you use these combinations of things together in the very best way to get the very best outcome.
So what does that mean? The new Bayer company hoping to cut its time to market in half, making a 20-year process for traits and chemistry a 10-year job. It's combining a litany of data sets into the new Climate Corp and Field View, hoping to discover efficiencies and innovation that will mean a step forward for farmers.
We're growing our data about 33% every year. We grew 2 petabytes just last year alone internally.
Now covering 60 million acres, a recent endeavor that lets artificial intelligence pick hybrids for fields using data the company says is racking up a 14 bushel per acre advantage for corn producers so far this harvest.
We're just beginning now to develop the algorithms, and these are machine learning algorithms. We're not going in there and saying, do this. We're letting the machine, the computers, find the correlations.
And Bayer is growing that digital farming footprint as climate launches around the globe, including Europe, where Bayer has a strong presence.
We're answering questions today we couldn't even imagine 2 years ago, and 2 years from now we'll be answering questions we can't imagine today.
But the whole idea of literally being able to define which variety of seed should be used on which part of a field, under what conditions, what type of plant protection products should be used when, and all of the data around that and gathering data to help farmers take those decisions. That will ultimately be what the tailored solution will be all about.
The new company also planning to continue investing in partnerships, searching for the next iPhone or Uber of agriculture.
A new discipline that we call synthetic biology, which is how do you assemble genes and put them together to solve things that maybe are potentially unprecedented. And one of those is, how can we potentially make a crop like corn be able to fix nitrogen in the same way that we're used to with some of our legumes like soybean.
No matter the path the future takes, it's clear the ag industry now has a more concentrated selection to choose from. And as Bayer unwraps its acquisition, how much of a change it will be for growers remains the question at hand. Farmers and producers across the country are busy bringing in the crop ahead of winter. Let's catch up with a couple locations in today's Crop Comments.
Good morning, Clinton. We got the snapshot from the truck cab on agweb.com. The farmer says in Payette County, Idaho, it's been a great onion harvest. Hay is nearly done and yields have been good. Sugar beets and potatoes also did well thanks to dry weather with plenty of irrigation water. And Cheryl Day snapped this picture of cattle under a harvest moon for Twitter. She lives in Illinois. Cheryl says recent rains have brought short harvest date delays and crisp fall air. 28% of corn and 17% of soybeans have been harvested in the state. Let's take a look at the winds across the country as we head into your Thursday. We're going to be seeing the strongest ones along a cold front that's been moving through the nation's midsection. So as we head through the day, we're going to be seeing some stronger winds in the Great Lakes area and into parts of the Corn Belt. As we head into the next 24 hours, you can see those winds really kind of stay in the northern areas, Great Lakes, and into the northern plains, also into parts of the Rockies as well. Overnight, things kind of die down a little bit, but you can kind of pick out where a front is. And then through the day on Friday, things will start to pick up, especially in the afternoon along that front. We'll take a look at your national forecast coming up in just a few minutes. But for now, here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
The dairy industry continues to deal with price pressure. Can that change? We'll talk about it next in Analysis. And these helping paws cover a lot of ground during Roundup. We'll look at some new tech helping keep these canines physically fit.
AgDay, brought to you by Prosaro Fungicide from Bayer.
The Federal Reserve meeting Wednesday, opting to hike interest rates for a third time this year, setting the benchmark rate a 1/4 percentage point higher in a range of 2 to 2.25%. So far, Fed officials insist the trade situation is a concern they're hearing from their business contacts, but the situation has not yet manifested itself in economic data. The dairy industry continues to deal with low milk prices and big production numbers, so is there hope for a change in those prices? Tyne Morgan asked a question from the road. Today's Analysis.
Here now with Dr. Scott Brown of the University of Missouri. Dr. Brown, when we look at the latest number on milk production, we're seeing production continue to grow, up another, I think, 1% overall in production. When do you think we'll see it slow down?
Yeah, so I think we were hopeful we were going to see a slowdown when we were only up 0.5% the previous month in terms of the report. Yeah, we get this one out and now we're up 1.4. It's been very slow to turn that spigot off, and I think it depends on where you are in the country. If you look at places like Texas, we continue to see growth occurring. Another 5,000 head of dairy cows in Texas, according to the last report, tells me that we're not done growing for a period of time, and it's really talking about a very different structure in the dairy industry today.
Absolutely, because you look at dairy prices and you're saying, listen, these aren't break even for a lot of producers. So then how are you seeing producers, for example, in Texas, continue to grow with these prices?
Well, I certainly think many of them are betting on the future of the dairy industry and hopeful for some higher prices down the road. Whether that happens or not, I think it depends a lot on just how strong demand growth could be. And we've seen some signs of things like fluid milk consumption that just haven't been very positive.
So what's the hope for higher dairy prices?
I think we have a number of months still ahead of us where we continue to bleed off equity that we gained in those very strong years back in 2014. And we'll have to get well into 2019 before we would see any kind of real slowdown. And in fact, we just can't get the spigot to turn off in terms of milk production. In the past, we've seen periods of time where production actually declined, and we just aren't seeing it this time.
Definitely not seeing it. All right. Thank you, Dr. Brown. We appreciate it. Stay with us. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on AgDay.
Welcome back to AgDay. Here, meteorologist Cindy Clausen looking at the weather map. And Cindy, we don't want to say it out loud, but
no.
Maybe some of that stuff happening up in the northern plains.
Yeah, you know, I've been kind of watching it over the past couple of weeks, kind of sneaking down from Canada, going, I'm not ready for that. But yeah, that's what you can kind of see in parts of perhaps Montana today, and maybe into northern stretches of Michigan, where we definitely have some cooler temperatures. The main rainmaker is going to be in the southeast today. Let's take a look. And you can see that we have a frontal boundary, a stationary front That's wrapped all the way through the southeast down into southern Texas, and that's not going to make a whole lot of movement. So we're going to keep the focus of showers and thunderstorms in much of the southeastern states into Texas as well. We've got another front that's going to be making its way through the north central United States, and yes, that is some pretty cold air behind that, enough for some areas to see a little bit of snow. Putting this into motion as we head into your Thursday afternoon into the Thursday evening. Notice showers and thunderstorms there. A couple of high pressure areas. That's going to keep some of the nation's midsection dry, but we've got some showers and some thunderstorms along this front. And yeah, on the backside of that, where that cold air is, you might even have a little bit of snow, parts of Montana, especially the higher elevations, and into Wyoming as well. Here's Friday, and we're going to see that front continue to sink into the Corn Belt and into the eastern Corn Belt, so some cooler air behind that, and not a ton of movement with the front in the southeast, so that's going to spark more shower and thunderstorm activity, especially as we get into the afternoon. Another high pressure will settle in and kind of dry things out in the northern plains as we get into Friday evening. Here's a look at the precipitation estimate. The past 24 hours, you can see the focus really has been kind of along that front in the southeast and out into Texas as well. Adding on to the next 24 hours, that's really where the main focus will be. We're going to add more potential heavy rainfall, half an inch to an inch, or perhaps even more in some spots. You could see the moisture is a little bit less as you get up towards the Great Lakes, but there's definitely going to be some rain activity there as well. Temperature-wise, you can see how cool it is. High temperatures only in the 50s and 60s in some of these areas. 60s and 70s in much of the nation's midsection. We've got 80s down in Florida, still the triple digits down in Phoenix. Overnight hours we go, and we're going to see those chilly temperatures coming in, some 30s as you get over into parts of the northern plains and into starting to get over into Montana, into the Rockies, and that cooler air just keeps on coming behind that front. The highs may not even get up to 40 in Billings as we get into tomorrow, as we see those cooler temperatures start to creep into the Corn Belt a little bit more, and even the southern parts of the country start to look a little bit cooler. Still have kind of a broad trough that's moving across the United States, and that's keeping those cooler temperatures in the northern parts, but we're still looking at a trough in the west as we get into next weekend and early next week. We'll see a bridge building in the east, but that's some really cold air looking like it's coming your way as we get into the middle part of next week. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather in your area. Delta, Colorado, sunny and warmer for you today with a high of 82 degrees. Beeville, Texas, showers and thunderstorms possible with a high of 82 degrees. And Oakland, Maine, mostly sunny and a little cooler with a high of 64 degrees.
When we come back, the latest cattle on feed report is raising red flags about supply. We'll take a look next on Drovers TV, and later tracking the fitness of the hardest working member of the team. On Drovers TV, the industry is worried about last week's bearish cattle on feed report. The September inventory was the largest since the data series began back in 1996, and an average over the past 12 months shows feedlot inventories are the highest since 2007. Now, for the first time since 1997, there are over 1 million more cattle in feedlots than the 5-year average. Feedlots placing 7% more cattle in August, with the under 600-pound category up 19%.
Lightweight placements have dominated total feedlot placements since May, and those lightweight placements will result in lighter and later fed cattle marketings and may contribute to relatively tighter fed cattle supplies for the remainder of this year. Total cattle slaughter is up 3.2% this year, and heifer slaughter is up 8%.
Henderson says analysts believe these are signs that the herd expansion is over and the industry will experience increasing beef supplies and price pressure moving forward. All right, up next, we'll see how some of the same technology used to track your combine can also help track your calling. Details when we head in the country.
In the Country, sponsored by the all-new Kubota Sidekick, a utility vehicle that lets you climb more, cover more, tow more, and enjoy more. Visit KubotaUSA.com.
GPS fitness trackers are a common training tool for sports coaches to monitor athletes and help tailor training and nutrition programs. Well, now farmers are using the same technology to help understand how fit their working dogs are.
The job done, I know she will do it for me as well.
Karen Buller's champion Australian sheepdog is a big help. It's not uncommon for Rosie to run nearly 25 miles while rounding up the herd. Now fitness trackers are letting dog owners compare working data from their canine to others in the field using collated information. The insights are helping owners figure out how to balance work and nutrition.
Feed them right and make sure you're looking after them, they're only going to do that better. And we had some numbers from last year over 3 days. The dog did 150 kilometres worth of running. And long duration, long time, and a high level of sprint as well.
She does do a lot of kilometres, and she has done a lot of kilometres. I expect a lot of her.
New technology helping this essential part of the team stay in tip-top shape. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in and spent part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.